Otherwise, thank you for joining today. Like Nikki said, we will give our perspective to what are the important updates from Ignite this year. And basically the most of the kind of the news is around AI or some sort of an implementation. So we'll give our perspective on that, but keep in mind we will have a different meeting to talk about sort of the developments in AI in our other group, AI talks.
Yep.
Which is scheduled to, we were going to send an invite for next week. So if you want to kind of have a more deep dive on the AI perspective, and especially in the last couple of weeks, the developments there, we'll be happy to see you there.
Yeah, so initially we thought to not include anything related to AI, but as you can imagine, it's become pretty hard, especially as all the copilots are stepping in the majority of the Microsoft products. So it would be we'll cover a lot of the copilots in today's session as well. But more specific stuff would be covered on next week on the AI talks, where we'll cover both Ignite and OpenAI Dev Day and everything related to AI in general, which happened in the past month. Okay, so let's get started. Quick introduction for the folks who joined for first time. My name is Nicolae Markov. Been working in IT field for like 20 years, part of multiple transformation of our industry. Recent focus continue to help clients adopting the cloud and AI technologies and get all the benefits of them, improving their way of doing business, etc., etc. And most importantly, love what I'm doing.
Similarly, my name is Nicolae Panchev, and we've been working with Nikki on many transformations over the years, specifically focusing now on Microsoft technologies. And right now, our biggest focus is AI, to be honest. So we're not on the sidelines. We're trying to be active in that community as well. So. But when it comes to infrastructure and modern workplace, we also have things to say. So, yeah.
Stuff. Just quick addition for the recording. We are recording all of our sessions, so you can check them on our YouTube channel. So even if you miss some of the sessions, feel free to have a look at it. Okay, so. Starting with Azure, there were, of course, copilots, AI studios, etc. So from the introduction of Azure Copilot we'll discuss today, we'll see the preview of AI Studio as well. We'll touch some of the major Azure OpenAI enhancements. Also, we'll discuss about Azure Maya and Cobalt. We'll also see on a high level how Azure Boost improving the usability of from current perspective of the resources. We'll see the new addition to AKS in terms of cost analysis. There are tons of updates regarding confidential computing. Also, we'll touch the Azure Container Apps GPU profiles. And we'll discuss something important from the, let's say, from business perspective in terms of Azure Business Continuity Center.
Yeah. As usual, I'll take my stab at the M365 updates. Like Nikki said, it was impossible not to kind of skip the AI part.
We tried.
We tried, but it's not possible. Yeah, so they did a lot of rebranding over this time, and they've included most of the updates under the hat of the Microsoft Copilot. So we're gonna take a look at that. From an M365 perspective, there's a new offering called SharePoint Premium, which is refreshing. In SharePoint has been stagnant as far as the service goes for the last maybe 5 years. So we have some new capabilities that are being presented. Unfortunately, they're going to be more or less paid. over the standard licensing. And there's an update on the Microsoft Mesh, something that they announced on last year's Ignite.
Mm.
And I think they're a bit late on delivering that, but now they have a date for it, which is the start of next year. So we'll take a look at that. On the Power Platform end, again, Copilot inclusion in most of the services, a new assessment tool called Advisor, kind of similar to what we have in Azure. And PVA is officially gone as a brand. So now it's been adopted and added into the Copilot Studio experience. So we're gonna take a look at what that means really.
Okay, and on the security front, there were huge announcements in terms of Microsoft Defender extended detection and response. So we'll see what does it mean. Of course, keep in mind I put a security copilot just for to be aligned with the other copilots for the other fields. I'm kidding. But there are some good insights from Microsoft from their private preview and the clients using security copilots. So I'll share them here. Good improvements in terms of Defender for Cloud. Also, we'll touch some new area, let's say in the Microsoft Defender, which is DevOps Security Insights. So there's some new additions which we'll discuss. And of course, we'll touch also the identity part in terms of Microsoft Entra, the new automatic conditional access policies.
One other thing to mention for the people who have not been on these sessions previously, our initial idea when we started doing Cloud Talks, we only had 3 pillars, which were Azure, Microsoft 365, and the Power Platform. Over time, we invested a lot of effort in, learning and working with the Microsoft security stack. And it made sense for that to get spin up because it's one of the most kind of exciting areas in their portfolio overall. Now, with this year's Ignite, we actually see most AI-related things getting moved to their own separate portfolio. So I think we're going to make a change going forward. We're going to spin off the AI Copilot into its own separate segment because it would make more sense for us to treat this as a new, basically a new industry, right?
Yep. And just to add to this, I'm sure that I will repeat myself later. It's clearly Microsoft is trying to move away from Azure and their M365 naming connection for the identity and security products, which would already happen with Microsoft Entra, and now it's happening with Defender XDR. But yeah, we'll see more. So starting with the Azure Copilot, I'll start first with the fact that I wasn't able to use it during the Ignite, so I tried. It should be available on the portal. However, it's I have I think 5 accounts, and for none of them was available. But hopefully it would be available soon. I guess it would be rolled out in version. The main goal in general of Azure Copilot, as the other Copilot, is just to help us with our day-to-day operations in Azure. So it would help us with designing our services based on what we need. It should be helpful in our day-to-day operations. I saw some there were sessions showing some good examples in Cosmos DB operations, optimizations. It should also help us as with troubleshooting stuff, etc. And yeah, the main goal is like the other services to just the other copilots is to be able to cover let's say cloud dev/DevOps engineers and operators, administrators, architects to help them with their day-to-day work, focusing on Azure. So behind the scene, what we expect, what we believe it's actually This is just LLM which is trained specifically, or it's somehow connected to the Microsoft documentation. And yeah. Another thing that we also discuss is that most probably this will make huge impact in the way how we are working with support cases, because we agree that actually you can get a pretty good insight from GPT-4, let's say that way. I'm not sure what kind of LLM is behind this, because as we know, behind GitHub Copilot is GPT 3.5 instead of GPT-4. But we'll see. As I said, weren't able to find it yet. It's there. We had very popular slogan. I can't find it, but it's there.
And I think it's important to note, maybe this is a good talk for AI talks next week, but generally what Microsoft is doing, this is the first step of replacing the way we interact with these services. I think over time we will see less and less options, in the standard way they were presented for so many years, the standard portal. You will have more of a Copilot experience where you're asking it to do something for you. And when you spin things up, it will be more of a conversation kind of a deployment rather than you having to understand what's happening on the back end. So I think my perspective is over time, things like ARM templates and graph calls and things like that will dissolve from the developer perspective into a prompt type of experience and
natural language.
Yeah, you can say, okay, copy this environment that I already have into another tenant or another subscription or whatever you want. What typically you would have to interpret into a technical solution or a design. This will be a conversation, and this way, I think a lot of the mistakes that happened over time with people being unprepared, uninformed, will disappear, and Azure will become a much more streamlined solution for everybody to use. So I think this would be a great starting point for new people, as you don't have to fill your head with unnecessary information.
Yeah, we'll see in later slides. It's pretty hard to stay straight into the cloud talk session, but as Nikki mentioned, you may find we already tried some solutions for as we are talking with your databases directly on English. It's extremely nice. I mean, you can just say, give me this and these people, and everything is created behind the scene. The same thing for Kusto language. You don't have to to learn it at all. It's this is coming. It's already
if you spend 5 years learning Kusto and doing queries, it's kind of been.
I know people which already done that, but we're still early. There's still time to ramp up.
But believe us, this is the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and there was some additional introduction from Microsoft. To be honest, I didn't expect that, but it's pretty nice. It's called Azure AI Studio. It's already in preview. We already tried. I would say it's really nice way to combine multiple things in single pane of glass, made them easy to use and intuitive. So I'm a big fan of consolidated solutions where you have everything in one place in order to be able to try different things. And from, let's say, this portal, you can do the majority of things which previously we have to do from, let's say, navigating to different portals. For example, when we would like to create a deployment, we have to create first the endpoint. Then we have to go to the Azure OpenAI Studio, which is different than the Azure AI Studio. And from here, we can do all of these stuff. We can even we can even train the models directly before deploy them, for example. And the good thing is we can try open source models. So yesterday I tried just to play a bit with the portal with the open source models, because as you know, we'll touch this next week, but Microsoft is not betting only on the proprietary large language models, but they also invest, they have huge investment through their Microsoft Research division in the open source models. So you can have all the popular models, open source models running there. And again, you can try them absolutely for free. So for example, in this interface, which you see here, you can click on, let's say, Llama 2, and you can directly you have the ability first to deploy it, but also on the right side, you'll be able to have a quick chat with it. So I would say really nice addition, trying to streamline, to lower the learning barriers of how we can use stuff. So here we have included responsible AI, all the settings that we would like to include to tweak there. Again, they're in one place. Yeah, it's my suggestion. Our suggestion is just trying, have a look at it. It's really easy to navigate and work. And the good thing is, when you have to deploy, for example, GPT-4 model, it's actually ask you. So let's say that way. Previously, we would like to deploy GPT-4, let's say, in Azure. We have the approval for Azure OpenAI. When we go to the portal, what happened? How we realized that we put GPT-4 and nothing happened, right? And so we had it like this reverse engineering way of deploying stuff. And here we have the really user-oriented way of deploying what we need. So for example, if we need GPT-4, we click on it and we will ask us to deploy all the dependent resources instead of deploy all the dependent resources and then deploy GPT-4. So really nice addition. Currently in preview, it's working pretty fine. I don't have any.
Yeah, and the interface is actually, it's coming from the Machine Learning Studio that was around for a while. They just kind of made this as the standard experience and integrating it with other services, obviously. But it's definitely something. If you want to learn something new, and you need to just pick one thing, and this would be my recommendation. Start looking into it.
Yep, and yeah, so as you can expect it, there were a lot of Azure OpenAI services. We'll go in details next week, but Microsoft Ignite, they come just, I think, week after, or not even a week after the OpenAI Dev Day. So it was pretty expected to have the newly announced GPT-4 Turbo models and GPT 3.5 Turbo, the new models released also, and DALL-E 3. Part of the Azure OpenAI services. One important thing which I noticed is that actually DALL-E 3 is supported only in Sweden Central.
I think this is the way they started.
Yeah, it's so I guess this would be a broader discussion at later point, but definitely if you're a large enterprise, you have to think well about your strategy of
it's
using
a nightmare
the region
right now, by the way.
How to use the regions. I see here we have people who can share a lot of thoughts regarding how to utilize properly the APIs and in our AI days. So definitely something to consider when using these models. I know that have a look at the regions and think about how what would be the strategy of Microsoft. Maybe you can even ping your account representative in order to have some more
clear vision,
future proof, let's say short term future proof strategy of how to utilize these services, because really it may become pretty surprising and it may require some additional unnecessary effort if it's not done appropriately. So As you know, GPT-4 Turbo Preview, the main improvement, first, it's really fast, really fast. I would say it's fast like GPT 3.5. And the main thing is that it's actually have 128,000 tokens. So which means that you can put entire book within it. Okay, I will not say more, just to leave something for the next session. But yeah, this is regarding the new models. Of course, the function calling stuff, etc., etc. We'll call this parallel function calling. We'll call this more in the next session. There were some good insight in terms of responsible AI. So good additions. So now you have block lists where you can customize the list of patterns, some, let's say, specific terms or regex patterns, or even Microsoft provide you out of the box with a profanity block list. But you can include this in your specific model, especially if you're using some chatbots, etc. Also, good addition in that field, which we're exploring more and more, is some let's say security improvements, like jailbreak risk detection, protected material text. Protected material text is more related to the copyright stuff, which again, it's pros and cons, but for let's say, of course, large organization, it's important to not go in that direction at all and have any challenges regarding that. For jailbreak risk detection, there's it's put on default. It's turned off by default, but it may help you to identify if someone tried to break the rules which you set in your system instructions, let's say that way. There were some additional, again, regarding the responsible AI, there were some protected material code, which again, it's more like copyright stuff, and it may cover your company of making such a unwanted mistakes, let's say that way, caused by the model. So just stay tuned. Next week we'll cover in much more details all of these. We already discussed this on our previous AI talks, but everybody's going to from the big techs are trying to jump in this new silicon creation. So Microsoft in the Ignite session announced Azure Maya, which is focus of actually their AI accelerator optimized for, of course, artificial intelligence, task, and generative AI. Before dive deeper, they just also introduced Azure Cobalt, which is their ARM processors, which is I would say another good example of how good ARM architecture is for AI related stuff. Just before the session, we're discussing how people are running big Llama, like 70 billion parameters on new MacBooks, and M3 chips are just amazing. But yeah, so Azure Maya is something which so let's step a bit. I guess you know that the majority of the big tech company are developing their hardware stack end to end. So they're creating the design of the motherboards, the chassis, the networking, everything, and they're still missing some pieces of these. And what Microsoft missed during the years, one of these was actually the chip, like Azure Maya or Azure Cobalt. So having this chip and designed everything around this chip, because the important part here is that when you own the other stack, you don't have to you're not dependent to the, let's say, third-party vendors. And for example, Azure Maya motherboard is much larger than the usual one, and they can't fit it in a normal rack. As you see on the pictures, on the second picture below, you see that it's also using liquid cooling, which is really efficient. So in that direction, I think Microsoft is doing extremely good job by designing end-to-end their hardware stack. And here we also see an example of custom built rack just for the Maya 100 AI accelerator. And as you see, there is some thermal chamber, which is helping for the cooling. We don't have any thoughts at the moment about the performance or how these chips behave. I know that, but we'll see. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have some insight.
Just to add a thought here, we've been following Microsoft for decades now, and we know how this company moves. So they were always capable of producing hardware, as long as the business was there. They got into the gaming industry, created a console because they knew they would get money out of it. They are not in the business of making hardware just to make hardware and lose money on it. So the fact that they are in these times where companies are careful where they place their funds and their strategy, going all in on hardware as well, because this is probably a very expensive endeavor to even try and create your own chips from scratch, means that they see the potential. And I think we're at the point where everybody knows where this is going. And now it's a matter of creating enough resources to beat everyone to the kind of the finish line. So, whereas typically when you're creating hardware, you're giving the resources to someone and hoping they will be able to leverage them to create things so more hardware will be purchased, right? And now, it's kind of, now there is a need for hardware because the software has tremendously kind of went all out. I mean, software has significantly surpassed hardware right now, which wasn't the case maybe 10 years ago. So I think Microsoft has enough resources to create any sort of hardware. They have just look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is basically making chips just for them now.
But yeah, absolutely. Two things. They're building data centers. There were a very nice session on Microsoft Ignite, which I'm not sure if it was Marcus Hinrich, but it was showing how they're building the entire center, focusing only to running LLMs. And that was really amazing. Talking about the other vendors like NVIDIA, we also had a look at their custom development, and it's also absolutely mind-blowing in terms of design of high performance GPU computing. I'm not sure which is the right word, but there are tons of really let's say networking experts which were building the networking industry in the past, coming from Cisco, let's say, or other vendors, which what I see right now, all of them are working. The majority of top one are working for let's say NVIDIA, Microsoft, or other like AWS or Meta. And they're building and designing the connectivity required for the LLMs, which is, of course, Microsoft is helping us to not think all of this stuff, but it's extremely complicated, challenging, and require a lot of effort in order to design it well, because you need a really, really high bandwidth in order all the LLMs and AI, AGI stuff to work appropriately. Okay, last thing regarding the hardware, there were also announcement about Azure Boost. If we can explain it with a few words, it's actually additional effort to offload some of the responsibilities of the hypervisor compute, like security, networking, and storage outside of the compute resources in order the actual compute resources to be more utilized. I think this is something which happens long time ago. I remember even that AWS bought, I think, Annapurna Labs. It was something, I don't know, maybe 2018, 20, something like this. So I guess that they started with this first, to offloading as much as possible, and in general, just to allow us as a clients to utilize better the resources, and of course benefits them to have to outsource some of the tasks and not consuming anything from their precious resources which providing them to us. Some numbers we put it as a notes, and we can share. It's they are able to achieve 200 gigabits network throughput, which is I don't know, pretty significant, and also 10 gigabits and 400K IOPS in terms of storage perspective. Microsoft claims that this is the fastest one. I'm honest, didn't check what we have from the other vendors. So, but yeah, it's still something to cover more advanced projects. One very nice addition, which I personally waited for a long time. I know a lot of clients also waited this for a long time. But right now we have built-in AKS cost analysis. So it's actually add-on, but we can have it natively in the Azure portal. So this would provide us much better understanding what happened in our usually black box AKS clusters, what is utilizing our budget and where our money goes, which especially for large clients which operates with tons of clusters. I even see here we have some folks which have experience with working with let's say a large amount of geographically spread AKS clusters. It's really important, even if it's not important for the tech folks. Definitely the business guys would like to know where their resources are going and how the application can be optimized. So previously we've been using some other tools like KubeCost or etc. But this solution is entirely built on top of OpenCost, which is a CNCF project. It is there's some the different SKUs for which you can actually, I think it's actually covering both standard and premium AKS clusters. But yeah, better visibility, better understanding, better forecasting, and moving forward with our workloads.
I think the billing portal generally is moving to this open source. I think they announced it somewhere. Maybe it wasn't in the highlights of the events, but I think they were generally moving the cost management reporting and how it's been built to this open source kind of method. So it's more aligned with other clouds, so you can centrally manage. In another place.
Yeah. It's definitely there were huge improvements in the cost monitoring and visualization in Azure in the past, I would say even just this year, let's say that way. So maybe we'll make a session regarding that to go over the updates. As we discussed, some updates in confidential computing. This is, let's say, field which is really important for, let's say, finance, banking, healthcare sectors, where the compliance requirements and standards are pretty pretty important. So there's one of the announcement was that you can have Azure Confidential VM with the best-in-class NVIDIA H100 GPU. So I'm not sure that the other cloud providers providing this at all. I believe the Microsoft are the first one. So yeah, definitely you can benefit on that. There were a good addition also right now in public preview. So all these I think are in public preview, but you can have confidential containers or AKS. So this is actually you can have let's say container. It's so actually each pod has its own memory encryption key generated by the hardware and is unavailable to Azure operators. So yeah, again, if you're working in this field, you'll be able to benefit and to understand better, and you can see the clear benefits of using these services, otherwise prohibited because your compliance and security standards and requirement. Yeah, there's some other confidential computing updates, but I think these are one of the most important. So Azure Container Apps start gaining pretty, at least what we saw, pretty good adoption in the recent months. So I guess that's the reason why Microsoft also believe that they should be utilized. They should allow the user to utilize them for GPU intensive workload. So this new addition in public preview right now in dedicated plans, you can choose a plan which is which can use not the top GPU, but still
very capable
one, and you can benefit of Azure Container Apps running on your workloads using Azure Container Apps and having the ability to use GPUs as well. Yeah. Some good addition in terms of again consolidation of multiple let's say portals into single pane of glass is newly introduced Azure Business Continuity Center, which is again in public preview, which is combining let's say provide a centralized view and operations for overseeing, managing the all related BCDR activities. So it will show you the streamlined monitoring, some alerts, how your backup jobs are going. There would be good insight in terms of security, governance, audit compliance. So it's again something which you may consider of start using and make your life easier, let's say that way. Having what more things on the same place, easy to navigate. I would say it's not that easy as the AI Studio, but still, it's a really good addition to the to helping users utilize Azure services in easier and more convenient way. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we had plenty of updates for Azure this time. And this was not even everything, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of updates. These were just the updates which were catch our.
Actually, when I was looking at the Book of Ignite, something we didn't mention at the start.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's important
for everybody who wants to kind of get a summarized version of most major news, look up Book of Ignite 2023. I actually used it yesterday with AI. You can export this in, I noticed was 243 pages long if you export this from the site. So you can imagine how many updates did we get. Anyway, and on the M365 front, like we said, there was a bunch of rebranding and sort of unification and kind of getting a lot of these services together, like we mentioned on the Azure AI Studio. The Copilot experience is the one they're going to be pushing forward everywhere on all fronts. So this obviously is something that will be beneficial when it comes to modern workplace, and just being able to work, people directly working with their data is something that will have you will have a direct advantage. So a number of there were so many updates here. Obviously, I couldn't capture them all in one presentation, but a few things that I wanted to mention that seemed interesting in terms of starting with Microsoft Teams. One of the selling points of the Copilot experience in Teams was the ability to you kind of capture transcription and use that as the basis of summarizing what happened, giving you an action plan. This is a if you look at the Copilot selling points, this was one of the first things that they mentioned. But in the up to this point, you had to make sure that the transcription was running in the meeting. So I think this they're making changes to it, so you no longer have to have retention of the transcription in order to kind of gain that insight, which is would be easier for management. Also, they integrated the Teams chat and channels into that that new wave of interacting. Especially for channel messages and Teams chats. I'm not sure how easy it is to read, but the GIF shows how you can ask the Copilot on the right to help you with the messages that are within the Teams chat and channels. Also, another one that I found interesting was the kind of drafting your whiteboard based on notes that happened in the meeting. In this case, they provide an example how a couple of action points can be created, sort of a middle board type of experience, but without having to do this initial work. So this would be interesting to know. AI in general, Microsoft Teams, they are employing AI to have better to actually use AI, not just from a language perspective, but also being able to optimize some of the voice features, like voice isolation was something that was mentioned, that they're going to be using AI to recognize your voice and surpass other noises that are happening on the background, which obviously will be very handy for if you're working from home, you have screaming kids around you, and all sides of noises. They're able to differentiate your voice with the surrounding noise levels, basically. So that'll be interesting to see how it would work. There will be a clear difference with what we had previously, but they're trying to employ AI everywhere, because it's they like we already stated, that they've invested into it. They already have the capability. Now it's a matter of moving it in places where it wasn't possible previously to solve this problem. And now you're basically just only you're getting benefits out of thin air. That's why AI generally is something that would push productivity and benefits for the companies without having to do too much even implementing it. Copilot in Outlook, something that I also found interesting. I mean, at least usable from my perspective. Preparing for meetings, Copilot will be able to generate detailed summary of upcoming meetings based on the invite. It will scan all of the related emails and attached files and things that were part of the discussion that led up to the meeting. So I think it's, we've all been there, when you had to prepare for a meeting and you didn't have time, and it was like 5 minutes until the meeting, and you're starting to look in the emails. What was this about? This will help you out with, the generation of a summary report, or just get you up to speed so you'll be more prepared. Also, scheduling of meetings will be something that will be possible. with a click of a button to create an agenda, a title, a list of attendees, a context, and just, being able to kind of effectively manage these tasks without putting too much thought into it, which is something we all will probably welcome.
100%.
Yeah. Next one, SharePoint Premium. Now, and this is also related to AI, don't get me wrong. And it's, like I said, it was very hard to kind of differentiate AI news from regular news from Ignite. But this one is interesting because it's been a while since they actually invested kind of effort and time in making the SharePoint platform better. I guess AI changed that with, they were able to implement some of this stuff more easily. But some of the services that come with this new premium plan, of course, it will be, that's why premium equals paid usually in Microsoft world. It's something that they will be pushing forward, and they introduced some cool things with it. Now, this is a rebrand of some of the syntax capabilities they had before the AI explosion last year. This was a way to use machine learning models to classify your documents, something that they had as an offering for like 4 years back. But it was expensive and it was finicky, and you had to do a bunch of preparation in your environment to get it running. Now you're kind of rebranding the syntax. They're building on top of it as well, because obviously AI and large language models kind of made the change in scanning documents and tagging documents much more easier from what they had previously. The models are much more aware of your data. But on top of that feature, which is being, which has a major boost in functionality, they brought something called SharePoint e-signature, which is useful for organizations. Usually you have to pay for these kind of services separately. And you have to integrate them, and it's still not well integrated, especially in the SharePoint world. Now they're bringing e-signature functionality, which can be available directly in SharePoint. I think the announcement is that this is something that's going to be rolling out next quarter, start of 2024. They're also going to be integrating this with existing vendors for e-signatures like DocuSign and Adobe. So it's going to be interesting to see how this will work. I think it's generally a welcome change. Signatures was something that a lot of companies are looking for, to validate a process or an approval. You can obviously work with Power Automate to create something like this, but not from a compliance standpoint. It's different when we have a real electronic signature, and that's well integrated into the platform itself. Another part of what's coming with Premium is the ability to use archiving in SharePoint, something that you usually had to employ third-party services like Barracuda and some other vendors that you can basically buy storage from, and they would connect to your environment, and using Graph or another API, you would offload your data to another place.
By the way, do you know if this Microsoft 365 backup can backup, let's say, Teams messages?
This one is specifically related to SharePoint data, as far as I know. I mean, I haven't checked I can check, but Teams chats they're a different type of format and data. As far as I remember from the Teams architecture diagram, Teams chats are stored mostly in Exchange Online, in separate containers, which are not visible. So I don't think this is the same, the same thing. But I can check. That's a good.
I'm asking because you have a client which is currently using third-party software to do these backups, and it's pretty expensive calling the API.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, by the way, Microsoft recently, they were a very strange thing. They introduced some changes in the cost of APIs. They pause it for 3 months, let's say for June, July, and August, and they enable it again on September. Yeah, even for not a big amount of calling the APIs and doing some, let's say, processing with the messaging, you can get pretty significant costs. So this is an option to, if it's possible, you can better invest in this platform.
Exactly. I mean, that's their selling point.
Yeah, but it's makes sense.
Make things harder to get out of the cloud and trying to keep the information here. But in all honesty, this should have been a service that they should have been provided years ago. I don't know why they waited so long to actually provide that as a capability. And on top of that, it's still paid, which is the bummer because
again, you said that otherwise you have to use third party, which is paid as well.
I know.
And actually you benefit here from consolidating. So you have the Barracuda, for example. For this case, you may have some other vendor for the other use case, and here you have.
Bundling up services is what always Microsoft has excelled in, and that's how they've been able to sell so much of it now. I don't have information on the actual cost of SharePoint Premium, and I'm not sure if it was available. Maybe I missed it somewhere, but I'm betting that it's not going to be too cheap. It's probably going to be an add-on license on top of the regular license. Still, I think archiving of SharePoint and old OneDrive would be very a good option for companies who are who need to kind of contain their data somewhere, and I think on the back end they just been able to do some cold storage in a storage account somewhere. And ever since SharePoint has been moved over to containers, I'm sure if some of you are aware, but SharePoint had a dramatic change in the infrastructure over the last few years, where Microsoft basically moved from hosting on-premise SharePoint on physical servers or virtual machines to running a lot of its capabilities directly in container level, and running that .NET code, which SharePoint is based on, directly in the cloud, which made things a lot easier to manage and spin up and kind of integrate all the new functionality. So, SharePoint is really, I think it's still a central service because most of the M365 data is stored there one way or another. Last thing that was interesting from this license is the content governance features that allow you to glance at the way your data is being shared, accessed. Now, typically, you would use many of the already existing capabilities in the compliance portal from Purview, where you can use sensitivity labels, tag your data, track it as it moves across the environment or out of the environment. But it was difficult to actually have an understanding of how data is being used overall. And sharing is a pain point in M365. Large organizations where they have a lot of data, they've been given control over to people to share it out. It's hard to contain this process. There are products that you have to buy separately as a third party to get an understanding, and I think Microsoft is trying to get into this market as well, especially since they have all of the tools available. It's just a matter of kind of building out the interface and providing this as a visibility. So this is what they're announcing. I don't know too much about it because the information is scarce, but what they say is providing a top-level view of potentially overshared files with filtered by sharing policy and in Teams connected sites and other capabilities. Probably this should have been part of Purview in the first place. Will be available here. So in large organizations where SharePoint is being used for content management as a central system, this will be very useful.
And just to add that we didn't include any updates for Purview because they were tons of updates, which really.
I mean, the security will be this big.
Actually, this would they really required a dedicated session to Purview, which is something which we planned for a long time, along with the Defender stack.
Yeah. Let's quickly jump into Microsoft Mesh, which is, in my mind, is still a gimmick. I don't know. It's worth mentioning because it's been in the pipeline for the last year since it was announced last Ignite. It will be generally available next January 2024. You know, it's sort of a meta kind of an experience where you, yeah, they call it immersive spaces. You can you kind of create your own experience working with your team, your clients, avatars. I mean, it's, you know, I have to see it. I cannot really judge by, you know, by the marketing materials yet. Obviously, they made a lot of investment in doing this. This is not cheap in order to create this environment. We saw what Meta was doing with their own product. I think generally Microsoft probably has something much more kind of advanced as a product that's being developed, but they want to put something out. I think this is just the first iterations as these wearable devices come in more and more, and you kind of be able
Early
to
next year.
be immersed, in the experience. I think this will also change gradually with that. Right now, it's more cartoonish kind of an experience. I don't know. Right now, I don't use avatars. I found them kind of absurd in a corporate environment, but I may be wrong here.
I guess this is just beginning of entering new way of collaborating together. We also what is capable the new Meta solution. And this interview with Lex Friedman and Mark, it was just outstanding experience. Even Lex was so surprised of the
that's why I'm saying it.
Quality. So what I'm trying to say is just we are going there. I'm sure Microsoft is trying to catch up, because if you remember, the first avatars from Meta was even more ridiculous than this one, and you can see what kind of huge improvement we saw just for a very small amount of time. And taking in consideration that I think Apple glasses will come in also next year. So the major vendors are betting a lot in this.
I think we need to trust their judgment. They probably have a vision that we don't have, you know, from their perspective, that this will probably be used. I don't imagine, you know, spending so much money and effort to get something as a to flop.
I'm sure that this will become more and more affordable.
We'll see.
And it's always, you know, in this geo spreaded environment where we are working with clients, colleagues around the globe. It's always it's always better when you have personal conversation, and these technologies really help to have something like this. There's some other scenarios which can be really helpful, but yeah, we'll see.
I'm kind of excited to see it next year as it shows up in preview.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to try even some of the glasses. I can't wait. Okay,
next one. A bit about the Power Platform. Obviously, something that, you know, it was always on our presentations. You know, generally when we talk about the Power Platform, I don't know where this will go as things develop with, you know, the Copilot experience. Do we have a place in the future for a low-code, no-code platform, given kind of Copilot will be helping us out build stuff? We're yet to see, you know, right now it's being used heavily. I think most organizations who have a license for the Power Platform, I mean, you already have a license if you're using Microsoft 365. They use it in some capacity because it's you know, the learning curve is it's not steep. You can easily start using automation. So I think it's being used a lot from what I can tell. But you know, future-wise, I don't know where this is going to go. Talking about what they announced, obviously some Copilot news. You're now able to generate scripts using Copilot directly in Power Automate. So you can initiate, you know, you can create script blocks directly into Power Automate, so you can run them as part of your flow, which is interesting. PowerShell, run a command, Python, whatever. You don't have to be a developer to actually create the code. This is where Copilot and LLMs and generative AI helps, because if you need something simple and you're just starting out, this will help you get through this. Now, how would you troubleshoot is a bit of a different topic if you don't know anything about scripting.
We have Copilot for troubleshooting.
Yeah. I don't know how they integrated this part. I mean, using in a ChatGPT environment is maybe a bit different. So I'll experiment with this a bit. I want to give it to people who have not been using LLMs in general, just to see if they will be able to get something out of it. Also, Copilot to analyze automation activity. Obviously, if you're running any sort of service in the cloud, you generate a ton of logs, traffic, data that can be repurposed using LLMs. I mean, you can have an understanding of how your flows run. If you've been using Power Automate, you saw how difficult it is sometimes to troubleshoot or even understand if your flow is working correctly. And this can summarize some of the important facts, like show me the most frequent run errors during the last month. Maybe something is happening in the late hours that you're not seeing if you have multiple runs in a period's time, because I can see in a corporate environment where we have runs that run every second pretty much. So yeah, just like I said, repurposing, trying to integrate LLMs easily where we otherwise would have taken a lot of code to do. Power Platform Advisor is something that will be available in the admin experience, give you sort of an insight to your environment, similarly to what Azure Advisor does, analyzes some of the kind of the best practices Microsoft has versus what your environment has, and maybe can suggest certain actions that you can take, like you have these many flows that are running for an extended period of time or have failed this time. Do we want to disable them? Or you have flows that haven't been running for the last 6 months. Why are they still running? Or depending on what they implemented as recommendations. But it's useful for admins. I mean, if you've been managing the Power Platform, you have a bunch of tools already available, like the CUE kit and others, which were a bit static, and they require developers to continuously develop them and add functionality, where LLMs will be much easier to take action and assume things that were previously had to be developed through code. So I think that's one very useful aspect of AI that can be easily implemented. So we'll see how this showed up in the environment that I manage, but it's not available because you have to have at least one managed environment, which means managed environments are kind of paid version of environments. So you have to have at least one in order to take advantage of this. So again, they're pushing you to spend money, maybe unnecessarily, because I think this should be free. Anyway, next is again with, PVA, short for Power Virtual Agents, is going away as a brand. They announced this in 2019 as a new service, part of the Power Platform, and now it has disappeared as a name. So no longer virtual agents will be something that use as a term. Now this functionality is being integrated into the Copilot Studio, and we saw this rebranding happen even before Ignite. Actually, we saw it in the environments. The names all have been changed. No longer virtual agents is being mentioned. So like Nikki said, on the Azure AI Studio, things are being kind of brought together now. So you can use the Copilot experience to create your virtual bot, and you can use a number of different sources. Obviously, OpenAI Studio. If you already have your data running there, storage accounts with your files and some, cognitive services, semantic indexes, things like that can be integrated directly into that experience. We actually have been testing some of that Copilot generative AI mix type of solution for the last couple of months. It's it's a hit and miss yet, just to kind of get it running fully. But at least Microsoft is going into the right direction, because it didn't make sense to have a virtual agent that has been static and at the same time having OpenAI Studio or bot framework bots who are already integrated with AI on a separate offering. So I think it made sense for everything to come into one place. So as you're building a bot, you want to have all of the capabilities, and you don't want to be moving in different directions. So I think my general stance was we're going to be working on PVAs as a good way to represent the data. And now Microsoft is basically taking that experience and integrating it with all of the available sources. So I think it's just it's going to be the thing going forward, that it's going to be used heavily in the enterprise. Even from a licensing perspective, I think it will make sense, because creating a bot with the Copilot Studio would be easy enough for you to publish in Teams and in Copilot as an integration in other tools as well. So they're going to have an explosion of developers building Copilot plugins for different tools, because you want to reuse that engine where your data is. You want to take advantage of the Graph APIs. So I think it's just, the problem is, I think it just changes too frequently. You start getting used to something and they change the rules again, and you have to rethink your strategy. So hopefully things will come into place at some point, and you will have a much better sense of where the Microsoft strategy is going.
Don't think so. As Sam Altman mentioned, actually the most important skills that we should develop and teach our children is to adapt as fast as possible, and just to be adaptive. So talking about changes. Maybe we can.
And custom GPTs was something that you can create directly. I mean,
which we'll discuss in what next week.
Yeah,
because it's pretty hard to stay focused on this. It's and our other event is really more discussion oriented, so no like PowerPoints or etc. So definitely, we'll go in details there.
Let's move on to security.
And we've been talking about the changes, so I can assure you that changes happening in Defender suite in the past few months are really hard to beat, I would say. There were Defender plans which were retired, new Defenders plans were introduced, functionality was changed, let's say ways of how the different Defenders working have been changed. So the major change which was introduced in this Ignite was actually the change of not only the change of the name of Defender 365, but to Microsoft Defender XDR, but also the introduction of this unified platform. So right now, as we discussed earlier, Microsoft is trying really to remove the connection with their services, which they know and they believe that will going to be used for other platforms, including other cloud providers and on-prem. This happened with Microsoft Entra, and this is what we see here with Microsoft Defender XDR. So we are no longer have this connection with, let's say, M365 suite and everything related to 365. This is becoming totally separate product soft platform, which can be used for, as I said, any environment.
Yeah.
So with this announcement, we clearly see the main power of Microsoft, and this is truly the ecosystem. So right now, Defender for Cloud have a great integration with start using the new name, Defender XDR. So you have really good. I've already been using a lot Microsoft Defender 365 and Defender for Cloud. And as you know, they can cover, there's a lot of overlapping stuff, but at the end, they provide you different views for specific information, which is important for you, really. And they have this separation of, let's say, organizational responsibilities. For example, people from the CISO team usually don't have to log into the, let's say, Azure portal and navigate to Microsoft Defender. Yeah. That was the reason why they also moved the Entra out of it. You know, we don't have to go to Azure or M365 in order to manage your identity portal, which is I know a lot of companies which are using other cloud providers and they are leveraging entirely on I thought to say Azure AD, but Entra AD. So yeah, here is the same. Again, we see big. So not only first of all disconnection from the Azure and Microsoft M365 products, but also one of the important introduction here is this unified platform, which they are creating with this new product called Microsoft Defender Extended Detection and Response, XDR. So here in a they just announced in a private preview that you will have the ability to have also full integration in Sentinel within this and Microsoft Security Copilot. So Security Copilot would be embedded in this. This is really this becomes really a powerful platform providing end-to-end integration. So this can cover actually the capabilities of multiple products, which usually you have to go to have a look at each of these. So you even have the not only the usual CM stuff which Microsoft Sentinel is responsible for, so providing some trimmed landscape guide, but also you have some private a private view of let's say focused view in one platform of a lot of different initiatives. You can even track the manage the cost from here and do some optimization of your solution. They will provide some migration tools for to be able to utilize easily this platform and, for example, Microsoft Sentinel as well. But yeah, I didn't try it as much as extensively as I would, but definitely, as we discussed earlier this year, our plan is to start with the entire Defender portfolio suite.
We did a session last year, if some of you remember, we had
with the Microsoft security product.
Yeah, we had a three or four sessions in a row to talk about kind of the overview, but unfortunately
they changed so
things are changing so frequently, and but we're happy that actually something that we believed will over time people will change their minds and Microsoft security will become a thing actually happen. I mean, 2 years ago I think we were one of the few that said, okay, this would actually become a real competitor in the security space, and now it is basically. They're a major vendor, and some of the capabilities they have are unmatched in terms of integration. Obviously, they rule the platform, so they can do more with it than anybody else.
Yeah, it's still very hard to convince security folks that these solutions are actually very powerful, capable, and well integrated. But I think it's
especially on the endpoint management front.
but they were so I mean, there's small improvements in this field which were really really powerful. For example, agentless, pure agentless anti-malware, of the capabilities of new Defender for endpoint, the entire onboarding experience of this, so configuring everything through just Azure policy and don't have to do anything with the operating system. So, for example, you have the MD built in with Windows 2019 and so forth, Windows Server. So nothing to install. There's no services running there. You have the connectivity built in, so you just enable it. So
also, what I think people are failing to understand that Microsoft has the biggest environment where they can gather signals from different devices and people. I mean, just take a look how many people are using M365. All of that generates traffic that can be analyzed to make better decisions for security. And you know, having a large data set is kind of equals in gold now with LLMs. So it's, as long as they put the effort in, they can create one of the best security products, just because they security is based on reactions on some things that happen in the past. So in order to be prepared better for the next thing, given I have unknown adversaries and things like that. But I think just generally from an endpoint perspective and end user perspective, just hands down have the biggest platform to create the best solution. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, but you'll see Security Copilot will become a thing in multiple Defender products. But just really wanted to share some insight from Microsoft. As mentioned at the beginning of our session, they gathered some data from the private preview, which they've been running for a few months from their customers. So they really believe actually that Security Copilot was 44% more accurate and 26% faster in completing tasks, because in nowadays in general cybersecurity field face significant challenge with this, as Nikki mentioned, with this amount of endpoints and in general, how to say, the amount of data and ways how the organization can be, attacked, let's say that way. So it's really hard for security operations centers where they exist, because this is also a thing. There's still a lot of organization which is hard to build their SOCs, and yeah, definitely Security Copilot is something which can provide this, let's say, managed, seamless, automated, and experience of understanding better where the organization are under risk, and do some things proactively, because at the end, we don't have the time to spend the majority of organizations don't have the time to spend to analyze each of the attacks, but as you know,
they have never been doing it.
Or never been doing it. What we saw is that in general they're just covering some compliance standards where they logged in everything, and then after post what happened, they were able to find tons of signals that someone was trying to do something, but actually no actions was taken. So definitely things which, again, the power of ecosystem in general, it's really, really a huge advantage here. Again, it's still, Security Copilot is still not accessible for the mass people. It's there's some early access program, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to show you soon some demo on it. But we'll see. As mentioned, there were multiple Defender for Quad, Microsoft Defender for Quad improvements, starting with new Microsoft Entra permission management integration. So now in preview, we are able to see something called, I'm not sure if you're aware, permission creep index. So it's coming from PCI. So this is the risk of users with access to high risk privileges. And actually with these features, we'll see some proactive attack path analysis. So and the good thing is that this is, again, this product is becoming not connected with Azure, let's say that way. So we have this ability, the same ability for the other cloud as well. So we're talking about AWS and GCP at the moment. Same thing is for they provide new container security enhancement where we'll be able to have Defender Cloud Security Posture Management capabilities, not only for Azure, but also covering the Amazon EKS and Google Kubernetes Engine, and in general to help us to manage the risk and in Kubernetes deployment, which become more and more popular. So another thing is another improvement is proactive attack path analysis and risk mitigation. So this is again something which we touch, things which are not very popular in the organizations and things that people are not looking that much. But let's say it's actually it's something which helps you prioritizing their complex risks. So it's it could show you some, of course, the cross-cloud attack paths, and there's also some integration with products like ServiceNow. So in order to have some automation for this. There's a new addition for the API security posture improvement. So Defender for API, I'm not sure if you had the chance to work with this, but now it's also generally available. And as we know that even with right now with AI, we understand well how, and Microsoft understand well how important is the API. So they put significant effort in improving the security with and separated this, let's say, this offering in Defender for APIs. We'll see. There's in preview new features which is actually focused on sensitivity data classification protected by the API. I think in our last session we discussed some new addition to the Defender regarding to the data. But yeah, as we said, it would be it definitely worth the separate session for this. Of course, Microsoft Security Copilot in Defender, it's unfortunately again in private preview. What they mentioned, as I said, it's we haven't touched it at the moment, but it's this would be help the admins that are operating, security admins and security folks to be able to identify the risk faster. And using, again, what we discussed, the natural language instead of KQL or grabbing some, etc., grabbing some data. Another improvement for Microsoft Defender for Cloud is going into the DevOps direction. As you know, they introduced this, I think, early this year, beginning of this year or something like that. I can't remember now. But they're investing some effort, and right now, Microsoft Defender for Cloud DevOps security actually it goes beyond Azure and Azure DevOps. So right now you can get insights from GitLab and GitHub. So yeah. Good. There's they're working on integrated this with some other, let's say, licenses on GitLab. But yeah.
I mean, if you cover GitHub and GitLab, you cover a lot of the
yeah. It's actually from enterprise perspective,
and other DevOps. It's most of it is like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's say we'll get there. Yeah, it's still in preview, but you already can test it with your environment. And final, but still something which is I think it was released just a few days before Ignite. So let's say it's not Ignite news, but it's something we believe it's important. It's regarding the automatic conditional access policies in Microsoft Entra. So if you remember, Microsoft is putting these security defaults for all new. So first of all, it was for all new, then it was applied to even to the current organizations. So something similar happened with conditional access because conditional access is how to say something which is very common in
or it should be,
or it should be in organizations from any size, would say, because it's as we know, you pay by your size, so it shouldn't be a challenge. But in general, they're trying to help customers at the end with improving their security, and they're starting, of course, as MFAs. Actually, the identity part is and MFA is most crucial one. They're actually introducing. They're starting with MFA related policies as the most important one.
As a standard, yeah.
As a standard, and you know, the beauty of platforms, of all kind of this kind of platforms, is that actually you evolve with the platform, and Microsoft is taking care of helping you stay secure, have the opportunity to work with the cutting edge technologies. So.
And conditional access is a very proven product.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's the basis of the zero trust.
As we see here, yeah,
enforcement at all.
It's yeah. So the three policies are just real quick. It's Microsoft Authenticator is required for admin portals, multi-factor authentication for per user MFA users, and multi-factor authentication for high-risk sign-ins, which are really based foundational policies that we should have everywhere.
I don't think there's a big organization that doesn't use MFA in some capacity. I don't know if all of them use MFA from Microsoft, but it's still, I mean, at this point, you're probably already paying for this in some sort of license.
Yeah.
So it's more or less a free service for you to enable. So why not have it enabled? Everybody has a phone.
Sure.
So it's even with you know, I really like the no password sign in. I've been using it on most of my accounts, and it's so much better compared to just typing passwords and remembering and changing them all the time. So I think it's generally this has become a standard everywhere.
Yep. So that's it. Would be very happy to hear your thoughts. Any questions, anything that you would like to share, please raise your hand, and we'll make sure that you're able to ask it or drop it in the chat, whatever works for you.
Yeah, like we said, this is not all-encompassing Ignite review. It's more of our kind of representation and you know, our perspective on it. I think go in the next few sessions of Qual Talks, we're probably going to be still mentioning something that was in Ignite related somehow. But yeah, if you don't have any questions or anything you want to add, or I will be happy to see you next week on the AI Talks. I think we have a lot of things to mention. Now the format there is a bit different. We have a more of a conversational type of kind of a sort of a discussion rather than, you know, talking through slides. But we'll also be focusing on the AI announcements, but more of an agnostic approach, I guess, to what's happening in AI rather than
Yeah.
being focused on Microsoft solely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to give you a sneak peek about our next Cloud Talk sessions, we'll have the opportunity to host our friend Jordan Dimov, who will be talking about enterprise scale Azure Landing Zone and Terraform. So the planned date would be the first week of December. So feel free to join. I'm sure that would be very helpful for you in order to understand better how to build enterprise scale landing zone, which is another field we change very frequently. I'm not sure if I mean, we weren't able to mention it, but there are some new introduction for I think it was actually huge changes in the well-architected framework.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why did we didn't add this?
Because we totally forgot it. I mean, it was
Yeah. That's a good point for next week.
And the funny thing is that I already using using it, but anyway, yeah, it's yeah, a lot of things changing, trying to catch up as much as possible. So, but again, feel free to join, and if you'd like to present some good ideas, some things that you've done, something which you're curious, feel free to reach us to us directly in LinkedIn or Meetup, or yeah, we are active on multiple channels.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you all for your time, and see you next time. Ciao.